Tonight. I did that for Jim Sarney. Tonight's the night, man. Heat draft night, Mike Lubie Lubitz. You should be absolutely beyond geeked out about the possibilities of Miami Heat with their number 18 pick. I'm looking at a mock draft right now, and who do they have? I don't know. Do we really want to welcome a Dookie here, especially a Dookie that was somewhat nondescript? I mean, I guess you can't miss this guy. He's 7'1".
Wow.
But Zach Braziller, who did this mock draft for the New York Post, which, of course, is as close to my heart as any publication. I mean, it would be what? The Daily Racing Form, Picking Winners by Andy Beyer, and the New York Post, my three favorite publications of all time. And he's got the Heat taking Derek Lively to help out Bam Adebayo on the inside. So that erases a lot of speculation. You wouldn't be picking up this guy if you were going to trade Bam Adebayo because Derek Lively is certainly no replacement for Bam Adebayo on the inside, but he's a shot-blocking machine, Mike Lubie
That's what they
Lewis.
need. Yeah.
Tough to figure what they're going to do. I guess, the action is all on who's going to be number 2 and who's going to be number 3. And that falls between two guys. You're getting a wide disparity of opinions about which guy is going to be taken second. Your guy, Scoot Henderson, who everybody says is ready to play in the NBA pretty soon, maybe even now. Charlotte Hornets have the number 2 pick. If you like Scoot Henderson to be the number 2 pick, Lubie, guess what? You can lay out 100. Of course, the only interesting aspect of the draft for me is the betting angles. You can lay out 100, and you can pick up 250 if he goes number 2. Now, if he goes number 3, you lose.
Well, yeah. Well, as of yesterday, reports were that the Hornets are locked in on Miller, which, again, we know until they sign anything, nothing's in stone. But it makes sense, actually. Like when you
They already
have
have LaMelo Ball.
LaMelo, who is a ball dominant dude, I don't even know how Scoot and he would work. And Miller is a forward. Miller is a bigger dude. Miller's like 6'7", 6'8", so he's like a forward. So you can put him at the 3, and that's really what they need is a wing. My only issue is Scoot's better. So it's when you do the best available and need over talent. I would rather always go with the best guy and figure out a place to put him over the guy that fits your team better. But then what if he isn't good?
Well, the other draft theory that would be in play is if this guy's really all that great, right? And he's already better than Brandon Miller in terms of his pro potential. You could take him. You have LaMelo Ball, who's had some injury problems. He missed a lot of last season. And play them together for a while. And if it doesn't work out, you have a very viable trade commodity, do you not?
Yes.
Although you may be throwing away your season. But if Brandon Miller isn't ready to come in and immediately light it up in the pros, which you would hope at number 2, you're getting somebody that could help you. Are you listening, Stu Inman? Wow. Poor guy, man. He had such a great legacy as a player personnel guy in the NBA, Stu Inman, who eventually worked with the Miami Heat. I think he worked with the Heat in their infant stages back in 1988. I think he came from Portland to the Heat, but he had made this serious and hideous and egregious and outrageous and unrecoverable mistake of going for the big man, Louie, because you know why? The same theory that you just espoused. They already had Clyde the Glide Drexler, so what do they need Michael Jordan for?
Well, and that's what's funny is Scoop brought up because that's the other talk is the Blazers trading the 3 pick with this Anthony Simons kid, who a lot of people like, for Zion. And it's like, what could go wrong? The team that drafted Bowie, Odin, Brandon Roy, now taking on Zion. Perfect.
Perfect. Take on another guy that never hits the floor. Well, he hits the floor, but unfortunately, it's not while standing up. Zion Williamson. I'm with you. I thought Zion Williamson was going to be a very, very entertaining player to watch in the NBA. It's very disappointing to see that he hasn't been able to get out there. And even more disturbing is that do they do these interviews in the NBA? Do they get a chance? Like in the NFL, that's the big thing now, right? Well, it's all dependent on how the guy does in his interviews. And then they ask him a series of the dumbest fucking questions that you could ever assemble in your lifetime. If your mother was a whore, what kind of whore would she be? Vegas? Reno? Streetwalker in Miami?
Germany?
And some 18-year-old kid that just popped a zit so he would look good for the interview, put a little Band-Aid on there, looks at the general manager, some guy that's a hard-ass, been in the NFL for 30 years, and says, I really don't know. And they go, that's it. We can't draft this kid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Some of the dumbest decisions ever made. The Miami Heat history is not exactly illustrious when it comes to the NBA draft, even though they have acquired some players. They got Dwayne Wade virtually by accident. I don't know if they would have been, I mean, if they picked Chris Bosh, would it have been that detrimental? It certainly wouldn't have been as good, you don't think, as
Nah.
having Dwayne Wade on the roster. They have, they drafted Ronnie Cycli that first year, number 9, but that was because as an expansion team, this ain't the NHL, baby, where an expansion team can do well right away. They buried the Miami Heat and gave them the number 9 overall pick in that draft. I forget who was the number 1 pick in that draft that Ronnie Cycli was in, but it had to be somebody that was better than Ronnie Cycli. Even though I was a huge Ronnie Cycli fan, naturally, being a Syracuse guy, so we kind of like that. And then, what was it, the next year they got the general, Sherman Douglas?
Yes.
So, Douglas, he wasn't even a first-round pick, was he? Second-round pick, as was Kevin Edwards. The Heat had actually done better in the second round than they had in the first round. I was involved in a couple of early Miami Heat draft party coverages, Lubie, when I was sort of I don't know, I guess I was at your stage of development in the business. I had gotten a job. I'd been around and done some stuff, but I got the job at WIOD as a sportscaster. And
Sorry to interrupt you. Yes, either the first or second pick, even the 5th pick would have been vastly better. The first pick was Danny Manning,
nice.
who had a nice long career in the NBA and was actually really good with the Clippers. And Rick Smits, who was a borderline Hall of Famer with the Pacers. Yes, and Mitch Richmond also went 5th. And Rex Chapman even went ahead, and all of those guys were better than Ronnie Cycli.
Well, you want to build around the center, right? You got to start right there in the post. Why do they call that playing the 1? Because he's he's playing the 5. Because that's the pillar that you have to build around. So Cycli wasn't bad. I mean, he was just so mechanical offensively then, and it was a little bit rough. I mean, you could see that when he was playing in college that this guy wasn't exactly going to be a team. And I don't know that anybody expected that he would be. Was a somewhat entertaining player, a bricklayer from the free throw line. I don't think he shot free throws as poorly as a member of the Heat as he did in college. Might have even improved a little bit in that category. But unfortunately, was a Bermuda Triangle of basketball. Literally, the ball would go inside, and we joke at Grant Long and anybody that was on that original Heat team about it, the ball would literally disappear. Refs would be looking and go, hey, where the fuck is the ball? And Ronnie had done like a Metal Lark Lemon and stuffed it in his pants. 24-second clock is a 2. Ron Rothstein's hair is standing up like Don King. Shoot it, Ronnie. Shoot it. Do something. Pass it. Anything. The options weren't great. I mean, you were looking at Pat Cummings. He was their most legitimate player, I guess, outside of Grant Long. What else was servicing that team? Man, they had some weak entries. Always mentioned Jim Rowinski. I don't know if was he an original Heat member or did he come the following year? Very robotic. I mean, you talk about robotic Jim Rowinski. I do remember being at the very first. The Heat had like a tryout camp, if you can imagine. Damn. And it was held. Were you? I mean, you were like a young kid, 15, 1988.
No. How old do you think I am? I'm your son's age. I was like 5. I was like 6.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm thinking 73 for you. You're not 50 yet, are you?
No, I'm not there yet, thank God.
Why am I thinking you were born in 73, Lubie? I keep 82. Thinking that. Keep attaching years to your life. You probably have aged 10 years over the last 2 that we've been doing this. But, I mean, a breakthrough is on the horizon if we ever put that stuff together. Mike Lubie Lubitz, it's great. And, of course, we're here at 5 Reasons Sports Network. Covering Heat draft parties, I covered 2 that I distinctly remember when I was working at WIOD. And you had to go down to the Miami Arena. I don't know. Is there anything scheduled tonight with the Miami Heat? Seeing as they're picking 18th, not exactly very romantic, although they had a very late pick for the second draft party that I was, that I can remember covering. And that was when they acquired by trade after the Utah Jazz has selected Martin Murasep, often referenced here in the program, because I remember when the selection was announced that the Heat were going to end up with Martin Murasep, everybody said, who the fuck is Martin Murasep? What college did he go to? Where was he? Valparaiso? I don't know. Was he in the NCAA tournament? I don't think so. Did he play in the NIT? No. Where is he? Some European schmink. Talk about of no distinction whatsoever. And did he ever sniff the floor in the NBA? Martin Murasep? Not sure. He might have had the same impact with the Heat as Tim Kempton did. Because I do remember Tim Kempton in a layup drill, and we sometimes run that by Ronnie Rothstein. And Rothstein will tell us that Kempton really wasn't all that bad. But as I recall, I remember lining up at a Heat tryout camp of sorts where they had all kinds of free agents and scrubs and guys that wearing cutoff shorts and PF flyers, and they're running around. It kind of looked like the guy that comes into the New York Daily News Golden Gloves and is fighting unattached, has a tank top on, pair of jean shorts that he trimmed, and a pair of sneakers. And then, ices a guy like he was Bob Foster, the former light heavyweight champion. One shot, boom, down goes Frazier. But yeah, it was so nondescript. And I remember Tim Kempton in a layup line, and I'm looking at these schmucks and thinking, how the hell are they going to make a team out of this? This is going to be the worst ragtag team, which essentially it kind of was. 17 wins. Not exactly, and that's not the lowest total in NBA history, but it has to be damn close. Yeah, but that was one. And people try to get excited about it no matter what it is, don't they? I mean, because there was euphoria around the Miami Arena. This was the old Miami Arena. And there was euphoria in the year that I think he was the 9th selection that he'd had. Also, was similar to Ronnie Cycli when they took Harold Miner out of USC. Harold Miner.
I love that guy. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, he never did anything in a game.
No,
but just the nickname Baby Jordan and the dunk contest. I actually bought his cards individually because he was going to be the next fucking great thing.
Everybody wanted him to be good. And he was listed, and this, again, the bogus physical listings that they have in media guides and yearbooks and things like that. And when they give you the guy's height, he was listed at 6'2", but I was taller than Harold Miner. And, at best, at a stretch, I'm 6 feet tall. So, and Harold Miner, I think he might have been enlisted as 6'5" or something.
No, I was going to say they had him at like 6'4", 6'5".
6'5", yeah.
Yeah, and he was like
this guy ain't 5'5" would have been closer. Never really got out of his own way as a pro. Who else? I mean, think about some. I know you panned the Bam out of biopic as being worthless.
No, Daquan Cook, Justice Winslow.
Winslow was horrendous. Yeah,
Beasley wasn't their fault because everyone would have drafted Beasley at 2, but there were guys. Russell Westbrook was right after him and had a pretty good career.
Yes,
he might have been interesting with Wade. They didn't have Wade. Have Wade?
Wade came. What?
Yeah. They already had Wade. They had Wade. They had to have Wade. That's what it was. It wasn't sure. Riley actually liked Russell Westbrook, but you didn't know what he would do with Wade. But again, just take the best player. Beasley had a lot of talent, but the guy didn't give a shit about basketball. There's a lot.
That was the big debate: was Derrick Rose or Michael Beasley? Remember?
Well, they would have loved Rose. They couldn't get him, and
and Riley trying to deadpan it and say, "Oh, well, why would they take Derrick Rose? What do we need this guy for?" Praying that Chicago wouldn't take the guy, and unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. You want to make a quick buck, Lubie?
Yes.
Here's the thing: I'm looking at the odds to be the number 1 overall pick, which we know who it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already been stated, correct? I don't know. Have they signed this guy? I don't think so.
I don't know if they can do what the NFL does where you can start negotiating, but it's done.
People are taking French lessons in San Antonio. What are you talking about?
I mean, they're coming up with nicknames. Like
Victor Wembanyama.
Yes.
How many zeros is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Minus 10,000 to win 100. But why wouldn't you take that? That's one time that it might be.
Def, yeah.
Is there any chance whatsoever? I mean, the only thing that can happen, San Antonio is not going to trade this pick.
No.
What could you give them? They have the generational talent of all time going all the way back to LeBron James. This is the next guy that's come along that you say, wow, cannot miss.
Yeah, they don't have anything
even more spectacular. I mean, you would have to say that James, for as much hype as he came into the NBA with coming out of high school, easily exceeded all of that hype as an NBA player. 20 years at this level, no way you could have anticipated that. No, people were saying that James' jump shot wasn't strong enough to hold up in the NBA, that as great as he was, he probably was going to struggle in that category.
Yes.
Turned out to be a pretty good shooter.
Yeah, and he was right out of high school, and there had been issues with kids right out of high school outside of Kobe and KG.
Well, Kobe didn't star right away.
No, Kobe didn't. He was a bench guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a slam dunk, but the hype was so big. Who knew you thought he could be great, but he's going to go down as top 3 player. At worst, he's going to be a top 3 player. No one could have expected that. You can't predict. Jordan, it doesn't matter how great. Kareem may have been the only guy that you could have predicted. This guy, because Kareem literally was great from like age 4 straight through. Like he never wasn't great. Like Kareem
you might have thought Bill Walton would be that type.
One had a good. I don't know about him in high school. I don't remember his high school.
He had to be pretty good because, well, if you watch that 30 for 30, he was already kind of a standout. Yeah, to end up at UCLA at that time, I mean, they weren't taking any scrubs. They had Sven Nader as a backup. The guy that was a longtime pro and would have been the number 1 guy on almost any other college team, and he played back up to Walton all those years.
Kareem was like from freshman year of high school type shit. Like people knew Kareem nationally in an era where there wasn't media.
Yeah.
And people knew who the fuck Kareem was. Like Kareem was just some other world guy that maybe you could project him out to be, but even no one projected LeBron to be there. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. What LeBron changed the game. He changed how players treat them. Like players run the league now. That's 100 players run every sport now.
Yeah.
That's all LeBron. Like LeBron is just, that's the thing. No, you cannot trade Wembanyama. Like there's literally no one in the league. Like you could get KD.
All right. So why wouldn't we get together as many packages of 10 dimes as we can and take every $100 bill that we can off some bookie? How much would they let you bet on that? I wouldn't even take that bet if I was a bookmaker. Would you? I mean, it's essentially like you're giving people money. It's almost like this incentive that they have to lure suckers into coming into the system there, where they go, well, you bet $5 on this fight. I see this all the time during boxing, and you'll get $400 in free bets. Win or lose, right? I'm thinking, well, who wouldn't go for that? But the obvious end result is after you go through the 400, you go through about 40,000 of your own money.
Exactly.
That same year. Honey, what's up with this? I just checked the bank account. It's empty. Oh, nothing, dear. I don't know. We may have to see if we had our identity stolen. Yeah, you did. You were raped.
I don't know.
By various bookmaking systems. All right, we have to run. Good luck to the Heat tonight. I don't know. Are you going to go with that pick? Is that even possible? Number 18.
That actually fits. They need a big, and I think they're going to keep your 7, but he is a free agent. So it'd be cool to get a young big to put alongside Bam.
Derek Lively, Duke, Miami.
I haven't heard that at all. I've heard the Jaquez kid, who was actually really, I think it's UCLA. That kid was really good.
I like that guy. Good
and
kid.
He was one of these already ready to play. He was like an older dude that actually seems to work out for the Heat. And there's this Prosper kid that people like a lot that should both be there. I would actually be happy if he keep the pick. Again, who knows what the fuck the Heat are going to do. I think tonight could be fun. I think that could be we'll have to talk about this on our show, but what happened with Porzingis? Did the Celtics finish that deal? Because I went to bed.
It looks like it's, I don't know it's official yet, but basically it's been agreed to. 3-team trade, Porzingis going from Washington to Celtics. Yeah. Celtics are trading Marcus Smart to Memphis. And I guess the Wizards are getting a bunch of draft picks. There may be a player involved that I didn't catch, but that's the way that worked. Porzingis going to the Boston Celtics. Smart out of there.
Something with Woj saying it's falling apart, and then I saw other people saying, wow, all these people had Porzingis and Celtics jerseys and the deal's not even happening.
Oh, it's not happening? All right.
Oh, but I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot happens after I go to bed. I go to bed at like 10. So
okay. Well,
I don't know.
That's part of the problem. I don't know that it's changed. That was the last thing I saw, was that Porzingis was headed for the Boston Celtics. And that's interesting because you're trading a defensive player for an offensive player. And I don't know, does Porzingis, he's more of an outside perimeter player than he is a guy that goes on the inside. So we'll see how that works out. Anyway, I'm at the point now where if it's bad for the Celtics, I'm all for it. What a bunch of choking dogs they turned out to be. All right, we're going to see you later. Good luck, everybody. The Heat Nation should be a buzz all day. Scoop Skolnick and the 5 Reasons Sports Network will be all over this. They could do a far better job and more in-depth job than we can. We have just basically scratched the periphery of it all. And, of course, anytime that we talk about the NBA draft and the Miami Heat, I have to bring up Martin Murusap. And with that, we'll catch you tomorrow in the next edition of Defo on 5.